Hey guys, Ginger here. Another late night episode here while I'm doing all kinds of extended work hours. I continue to be sorry about that, and it's going to keep going for a few weeks yet. As a matter of fact, I don't think I'm going to be able to get back to the regular schedule of Fighting the Void until probably mid-November, to be honest. It's a good chance this goes right up to when I have to do some training out of town, and I'm not going to spend my couple of potentially free Saturday nights doing this. No offense, anybody who does watch, I deeply appreciate it, but my family needs the time as well, and that's where the priority is going to be once I am off these stupid hours. Also, you'll notice I'm a little bit earlier than I normally am. That's because as soon as I'm done with this, I'm just going to go to the gym, and I didn't want to have to, wait till after I did this at 2 or try to get in and out of the gym quickly enough. So it's I'm doing it now when I happen to be done with some other stuff, some basic relaxing, which is nice to do for a change. And then when I get done with the gym, I'm going to work on the new Fighting the Void website. Hey, Matthew Hammond, how you doing, man? I'm surprised. I actually have a viewer here at 1:14 in the morning. It's what are you doing up? I hope you're in a different time zone than me. I'm Eastern. Anyway, cherry cordial right before I go work out because screw it. That's why. Anyway. What's going on in the world? Well, if you saw the description, RBG is dead. I'm sure you all already know that. RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, for those who are not politically inclined. Anyway, she died a couple days ago. The left has been going a little bit bonkers over this. Just a little. So far from what I can tell, other than a couple of instances, it's mostly been words. Obviously, Portland reignited, boom, like that. But the police have been a little bit more aggressive with keeping that down too. I guess they smoke screened him and attacked him from behind and everything the other day. And I'm not gonna lie, I wish I could have been there to see it. Also, however, in D.C. the other night, they were marching right into residential neighborhoods, and not just into the neighborhoods, screaming and hollering and doing whatever it is they do. They decided to go up and accost a bunch of people on their freaking front porches. This does not make me happy for a variety of reasons, but they got that going on. They're running right up into people's property now. In Rochester, probably about 2 weeks ago now, they were literally climbing on people's roofs. The next step, the next escalation is they're just coming in. They're just, we're done. We're just going to come right in and take your stuff, and that's when it gets here. Even in the city, I don't think people are going to stand for that. I think that's when you will finally get people to pull out the gun they've got hidden underneath the couch or whatever. Because come on, even people in cities have them. Not as many, obviously, but they've got them. They just hide them and are hesitant to use them. If somebody's in their house, I'm guessing the gloves come off. Not to mention they've got baseball bats and whatever else, and they're going to be using them. It's going to get very, very ugly. I'm hoping that their handlers, the rioters' handlers, can sort of get things back under control. But based on the rhetoric ever since RBG died, I'm guessing not. So I guess, continue to be ready. Do whatever you can to be ready wherever it is that you are. Obviously, that's going to vary depending on where you are. If you live in the city, be able to barricade your home and have some stuff to defend yourself that hopefully won't land you in jail. That hopefully won't land you in jail. We'll just leave it there. If you're like me and you're kind of in a more suburban area, well, there's a lot you can do. We've got plans to barricade. We've got weapons staged and ready to go in the admittedly unlikely event that we get a roving gang through my neighborhood. It's probably not going to happen, but it could. I wouldn't have expected some of the stuff that has happened. So, don't bet on things just continuing the way they have or the way they used to. Just like I've said numerous times, prepare for the worst. Other things about RBG's death. There has been a lot of some sincere, some performative sorrow over RBG's death. Now, I'm not going to be here and celebrate it. That's just bad form. I'm also not going to pretend that I'm sad, and it's not just because she's my political enemy. I don't know her. I didn't know her. I wasn't ever going to know her. I don't have a personal connection. It's sad for her friends and family. Yes, that's fine, and that obviously, and I'm not gonna sit here and crap on them. But if you don't know her or any person, let's be honest, why are you pretending to be like super sad about it? You're probably not. And if you are, if it is someone that you've never so much as conversed with online, if it's like a random celebrity, you probably have an unhealthy connection with that celebrity like that you've built up in your own mind. You probably need some more connection with actual people, or at least people you interact with, as opposed to person you're projecting attributes on that you never met. Just saying. So, again, the performative sadness and sorrow, I get it. In a lot of ways, you feel like you have to, and it's kind of I think a lot of people are probably posting that because they don't want to post that what they're actually thinking, which is, yay, we finally get to fill that seat on the Supreme Court. Let's be honest, that's what pretty much everyone on the right was thinking. And as far as it affects me, it is the primary effect. Just be honest. And as far as that goes, as far as filling that seat on the Supreme Court, do I think they should do it? Yes. Yes, I do. Does it fly in the face of what McConnell was arguing when Scalia died towards the end of Obama's second term? Yes, it does. It absolutely does. And to be honest, I thought that argument was crap anyway, because obviously we would go ahead and try to confirm a justice if the shoe was on the other foot. Obviously we would do that. This argument about we've never done that before, and so on and so forth, was just dumb from the beginning. But it's not just for that reason that I always thought that argument was dumb. It's also because even if there was like a real precedent set that I felt compelled to worry about, I would feel compelled to worry about it during normal times. We are not in those times. Obviously, Democrats are, saying if they try to fill the seat, we'll burn it all down. So go ahead and, I don't care about the precedent when that's what you're threatening, like at all. I'm like, no, you know what? No, I think we should really do it now. Not to mention they've been burning things down for months now. Yeah, tradition, precedent. The Democrats shouldn't pretend to care about those things. They don't. Matthew, are you referring to the argument to wait a year? I mean, to not fill the seat within the last year. If you are, I'm not saying that there isn't an argument for it. I'm kind of just saying I don't care about it, to be perfectly honest. And I do think I would have respected McConnell and everything more back when Merrick Garland was the nominee if they would have just been honest and said, no, we control the Senate and we don't want to. I would have respected that, because at least it would have been honest. Because whatever arguments there might have been for tradition and precedent, whether legitimate or not. That wasn't the real reason. I see what you're saying. Yeah, and that has come up. I think McConnell has actually put that out for anyone watching. Mr. Hammond there is pointing out that if the party in control of the Senate, which of course is the body that confirms the nominee, is different than whoever's in the White House, so back then it was Obama, a Democrat, in the White House, and the Republicans controlled the Senate, that you wouldn't try to push it through in those circumstances. But if, as you have now, you have a Republican in the White House and a Republican-controlled Senate, you go right ahead. Yeah, maybe. As far as that goes, though, there's nothing constitutional about it. There's nothing one way or the other. As far as the law goes, there's nothing one way or the other. If that's been the tradition and precedent, and especially if every nuance of that has been part of it, well, great. Then we have solid ground to stand on. But again, even if we didn't have tradition and precedent on our side, I would still say go ahead, because it's also tradition and precedent to not accuse the other party's nominee of being a gang rapist without any evidence whatsoever. So I'm okay with going ahead and filling the spot. And yes, it should be Amy Coney Barrett, because for various reasons. Point is, she might actually be a conservative justice that doesn't wind up being a John Roberts or a Sandra Day O'Connor or Anthony Kennedy. Basically, somebody who winds up stabbing us in the back. Anyway, that's my hope. I hope to go ahead and tell. I hope it's Amy Coney Barrett. Also, she's been fairly recently, within just the last couple of years, through a confirmation process already. I think it was for one of the appeals courts, and I like her a lot. I like her stances on issues. It would be fun watching them attack her for basically being a devout Catholic while they're trying to prop up Joe Biden as a devout Catholic. This will be hilarious. I can't wait to see it. Get your popcorn ready, kids. It's going to be so good. It's going to be so entertaining. So yeah, I hope I wake up tomorrow afternoon to Amy Coney Barrett being nominated, and McConnell going, you know what, we're just going to go ahead and have a vote Tuesday. That'd be awesome. I don't think that's going to happen. They'll go through the motions. They'll have hearings and whatnot, and of course they're going to have to bribe Murkowski and Romney and Collins, or at least as many of them as possible, to not jump ship. Because especially Collins has already indicated that she might jump ship. Murkowski and Romney, I don't trust them at all. Although Romney, being from Utah senator, it's a pretty conservative state overall. He may not jump ship just to protect for his own political capital. I can see that happening. Anyway, in the meantime, as far as there have been some protests over at McConnell's house. As far as I know, they haven't gotten crazy. If different, please let me know. There have been some issues elsewhere. Philadelphia, I think probably everyone has seen the video of them smashing up that vehicle with a dog in it, and declaring the person in the vehicle to be a Nazi because they didn't like him for some reason. I don't know, don't care. And funny thing is, Antifa was down there because the Proud Boys said they were going to be there. And the Proud Boys were like, we're not actually going to show up. They're just going to show up, and they're going to be massive. They're going to be massive dicks, and that's what's going to be on camera, not us fighting back. So they can paint us so the media can paint us as the bad guys. Freaking brilliant plan, by the way. Whoever came up with that, if you should stumble across this video, good job. Masterful trolling right there. I love it. Oh goodness, what else is happening? Well, pretty much that's the big stuff that's happening in the political and cultural space. It's all centering around RBG right now, and what's going to happen with that Supreme Court seat. Again, riots have started to pop up and intensify a little bit, not as much as I had feared. It's interesting. I think there's a lot of things going on right now. I think just before RBG died, I think it was finally becoming clear to the Democrats and whoever is kind of lurking in the shadows behind Antifa and BLM and the riots. And yes, I think there are definitely people lurking in the shadows. There's obvious organization. There were leaked DHS emails to that effect that they are organized. They're traveling from state to state. They're getting funding for materials. These BLM snack vans and everything don't just grow on trees. Somebody somewhere is funding this, and especially since they seem to so quickly pop up in certain places. It's interesting to me, often on very, very flimsy grounds at that. So somebody's instigating somewhere. Anyway, right before RBG died, it seemed like they had finally gotten the message that this is not getting you more support. Your support is going away. And so they were starting to tone down a little bit. They were starting to de-escalate, especially since Rochester. Let me get to that in just a second. Oh, excuse me. Goodness gracious. Where was I? Ah, yes. And of course, over in Portland, there were the wildfires. So out there, I do think that was suppressing things for a while. I think the fact that the feds have been rounding a bunch of people up, I think that's also having effect. I think it was I think it was a three-pronged thing. The wildfires, the feds arresting people, and the message kind of going out from whoever's at the top of this nonsense saying, tone it down a little bit. I think all of that was suppressing it. Of course, then RBG dies, and boom, here we are. We're potentially going to reignite. The rhetoric suggests it, but we'll see. Words aren't actions, so we'll see. Also don't forget that they canceled the White House siege that was supposed to start on September 17th. I was very interested in watching that one, and it turns out it didn't happen, again, because either the message came down from on high, they were worried about getting arrested, or both. I think that I think now the concern is, can they keep a handle on it? Has the monster gotten out of control or not? We're going to find out. And there is some evidence here and there that the monster may be out of control, or it may just be, random bits and pieces. It's hard to tell. One of those pieces of evidence is there was a BLM activist, apparently, who went into a grocery store in Louisville, Kentucky, and shot 3 people. It was either yesterday or the day before. Motive is unclear. Don't actually know the motive, but even Tim Pool, who tends to be skeptical about these things, is like, yeah, it looks like he was a BLM activist. Is that why he killed people? We don't know for sure. He might have just been looking to knock the place over. Whatever. In any case, that's definitely a thing that happened. It's a potential piece of evidence. You also have the fact that there are wildfires out west. We know some of them are done by arsonists. I don't know if that would be part of the plan or not. It seems extreme, but then again, so do a lot of other things. So that's about it as far as that goes. Continue to watch, continue to pay close attention, especially to whatever is going on in your own area. If you don't have a police scanner app, I suggest you get one. That way you might at least get some sort of advance warning. Anyway, going back to the Supreme Court seat, Hammett here Hammond here brought up another person. I don't know anything about her, but Barbara Lagoa? I might be mispronouncing that. Apparently she's also Catholic and she's Cuban. I think that would be interesting. I would want to know how Catholic she is, to be honest. I'd be very curious. If she's Amy Coney Barrett caliber, fine. Either one, I'm good. Yes, the joy of them watching attack a minority Catholic woman who's appointed by a Republican would just be wonderful. Again, popcorn, people. Popcorn and beer and popcorn. Get you some. And yeah, Hammond, there is a thing where they cross-deputized the Oregon State Police, and that gave them a lot more power and confidence to act, knowing that anyone they arrested is going to the feds, not to the state or the local municipality, in which case the DA would just let them go because the people running the show there are idiots and frankly complicit. And yeah, that's definitely helping to suppress some things as far as the riots go. There's no doubt about that. Whether or not it continues, and what I was working up to with that, if the powers that be actually are going to, if the riots are actually part of trying to push us over the edge in a full-on civil war, and just to completely destabilize society, they're frankly at this point, especially because the feds are actually taking action, they're going to have to up their game. And by that I mean they're going to have to start figuring out how to do real damage. Like real damage, not just burn down buildings, not just assault people at restaurants. These people are going to be marching down the street, with marching down the street like NFAC, with loaded rifles, and they're going to start unloading. Or be ready to unload on the cops when they show up to stop them. So that is, if they're trying to completely destabilize, that is basically what they're going to have to do. Because fortunately, the right hasn't taken the bait. The right has not taken the bait and gone out and done essentially that. Gone and marched with their own loaded rifles and everything and unloaded on Antifa and BLM. I think they've been trying to provoke that response. It hasn't happened, and thank goodness for that. And the feds are finally stepping in. Even some of the local municipalities are finally stepping in and not taking it anymore. And that could be what kind of saves us. Because now the ball's kind of in their court. It's in the ball now is in the leftist court, to where it's like, okay, if you're serious about this, you're going to have to do this now. You're going to have to go to full-on armed insurrection mode. And that means that the military gets called in, but not on their terms. My theory for a long time now has been that the left has been trying to provoke an armed response from the right so they can call on the military on the left's terms. That's what I think at least part of the motivation was for everything going back to the lockdowns. Again, fortunately, we didn't take the bait. And now it's almost impossible for them to come out of this looking like the good guys. We'll see. We'll see just how far they're willing to take it. And again, there's a difference between if there's a few random people that aren't under, shall we say, direct orders from on high. If some of those guys start doing it, well, that's one thing. But if it's organized from on high, and somebody basically pulls up a U-Haul truck and starts unloading AR-15s out of it and handing it to the crowd, well, then that's organized from on high, and then we are in trouble. Then it gets very ugly, very quickly. But we're going to see. And yeah, I'm totally behind charging at least some of these people with sedition. Absolutely. If you're tossing Molotov cocktails into the woods, if you're tossing them at police, if you're doing that while carrying a communist flag, yes, you're guilty of sedition. I'm sorry, but you are. You're not just a protester anymore. You are an armed insurrectionist, and you deserve to be tried as such. You know, and yes, it's going to get way too philosophical and hypothetical. Short version: if you turn that around and say the left had even more control over the government, and the right had to essentially march in the streets like that and attack so strictly government targets, would we then deserve to be tried for sedition? Yeah, sure, whatever. And understanding that, yeah, if you're opposing the government, technically that's sedition regardless of what the government is. And then that would be a choice we'd be making knowingly and being willing to live with the consequences or not live with the consequences, as the case may be. Fortunately, we're not there yet. And nobody wants to be there. I hope most people don't want to be there. I think there's a handful, but you always got that. Oh gosh, that's all some heavy stuff for a early Monday morning, isn't it? Something a little lighter. A complete gear change. Just hold on, you're gonna get some whiplash here. I watched Batman vs. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles last night. It was surprisingly good. I didn't know. I heard about the concept. I'm like, really? They're okay, whatever. Some friends of mine told me that it was really good, and I'm like, okay. I sat down and watched it last night while I had some downtime, and I was like, wow, this is actually a well done story. The animation, the acting is really good, and by golly, it's a lot of fun. It was just a lot of good, mostly clean fun. That the turtles, they weren't full on super zany like in the old 90s cartoon, which is good. They were toned down, but there's still enough of that to where it's like, okay, these are the turtles I recognize. And it wasn't super duper grim and gritty Batman. It was a little bit more like the Batman of the 90s, where he was tough, but he still retained a little bit of a sense of humor about him, which was good. It was very, very good. And my only real complaint is that we had Damian Wayne as Robin, which I understand he's the current Robin. I just want some more love towards my Tim Drake. He was the Robin during the 90s, and he's easily my favorite Robin. At least in part because he's the one I grew up with. Also because he's easily the smartest Robin. And arguably he's the best Robin overall because he's kind of the total package. For those who don't know, Tim Drake was the third Robin. There was, of course, Dick Grayson, the first one who became Nightwing. There was the second one, Jason Todd, who was beaten to death by Joker with a crowbar, but he came back to life and is now the Red Hood because comic books. And then after Jason Todd, a young Tim Drake, who had, if I remember right, both of his parents at the time, realized from news reports that Batman was acting differently. He was acting more violent. And then he realized there hadn't been a Robin sighting for a while. He put together on his own that Robin was dead or gone, whatever. And Batman wasn't the same anymore. He reasoned Batman needs a Robin completely from going full on dark. So Tim Drake set out. He figured out on his own, and keep in mind he's a teenager at the time, a young teenager, probably 13, 14, something like that. And he figured out, using his own brain and his own detective skills that he taught himself, kind of like a certain mass vigilante we all know and love, he figured out that Batman and Bruce Wayne were the same person. And he tracked them down, and he said, actually, if I remember right, he even rescued Batman. He even rescued Batman on a mission, and it's the fact that one, Tim figured all of this out on his own, and that Tim actually rescued Batman that convinced Batman to let Tim be Robin, to train him. And Tim, of course, is important because he was a Robin who actually wanted to be Robin. Not because of a family trauma, not because of some tragedy, not because he just had some burning pit if I just got to beat up criminals or anything like that. He did it because he wanted to be Robin to help Batman be a better Batman, which is exactly what Robin is supposed to do. He actually chose this life, wanted it, convinced the freaking Batman that this is the way to go, and actually got what he wanted. And got himself trained up to a level where he could actually throw down with pretty much anybody in the Marvel Universe. I mean, Marvel, oh my gosh, wow. Maybe I shouldn't have had that alcohol after all, huh? The DC Universe. Marvel too, why not? And he was just, seriously, the best Robin. Physically, right up there with anybody. Mentally, up there with the Bat himself. Insane computer skills. Like I said, easily to my mind, the best Robin. Not to take anything away from any other Robins. They're good for what they are. But Tim is sort of the whole package. He's everything Bruce Wayne is, without, at least when he became Robin, without the trauma. Since then, he did lost, over the course of a few years, he lost both of his parents and everything, and went through his own deep, dark, brooding stage and whatnot. But especially, for years after he became Robin, he didn't have that angst. He didn't have that trauma, and yet he was able to hang with the best and brightest in the DC universe. Hence why Tim Drake is my favorite Robin. Well, that was quite the segue, wasn't it? And yes, Matthew, the Batman animated series is one of the greatest things ever to grace the small screen. And the big screen too, for that matter, since there were a couple theatrically released animated movies, Batman Sub-Zero and Mask of the Phantasm. Phantasm was theatrically released. I don't know if Sub-Zero was. Anyway, yeah, it's just so well done. And Tim was actually, later renditions of that series had Tim as Robin. Initially Dick Grayson was, but then after a few seasons or something, they kind of changed it up. It was like the New Adventures of Batman or something like that. And it was still in the same timeline, but they changed up the animation style a bit. And Dick Grayson became Nightwing, and Tim Drake kind of became a very teeny tiny Robin. And he's also the Robin that you would know in like one of the renditions of the Teen Titans cartoon. Because if you see one busting out his computer and everything, Tim. Definitely Tim. Also, Tim in Young Justice, if I remember correctly. But anyway, I want to see more of that particular one. I'd love to get a live action Tim Drake one day. And in the comics, I've always thought that he should be the one that eventually takes over the mantle of the Bat. A lot of people would argue Dick Grayson, but he's found his own persona as Nightwing. He doesn't need to be Batman. Definitely in favor of Tim Drake. But I did actually watch Justice League Dark last week. As a matter of fact, I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I haven't seen Apocalypse War yet, but I expect good things. I don't like this DC animated universe as much as the old Bruce Timm and Paul Dini version of the DC animated universe, but it's good. It's good for what it is. There are definitely some good things within it, without a doubt. Oh goodness, what else? I think I'm just about out of things to go off about for now. I'm going to be working on, later tonight yet, like I said, a new website for Fighting the Void. We're working on it. As I've said, we're going to be launching a full-on network of shows and blogs consisting of some of the best people you've probably never heard of. But I'm really, really, really looking forward to being able to launch that for you. It's coming sometime in November. Probably pushing the timeline back a little bit just because of the work schedule that I mentioned earlier. And I'm going to have limited time. I'm going to be out of town, so on and so forth. But we're going to get there. It's coming. I promise. But like I said, part of that is there's going to be a website where you will be able to find not just all of the shows that are part of a network. They'll all be their YouTube channels and Anchor.fm audio podcasts will all be linked to this one website. There will also be a couple of people will be focusing specifically on doing some blogs. We're going to have history. We're going to have film criticism. Those will all be linked there. There will be more stuff as well. Not just political commentary. There is going to be some stuff of a more religious nature. There's going to be more like Red is going to be doing her Blunt Talk show. There's going to be stuff just exploring some of the weird stuff that's out there with Red and Crystal. And there's going to be more philosophical stuff with friend David. And again, there's going to be a lot of great stuff coming. And so you will know some of the names just if you're regular viewers of the show. A lot of them have been on the show at least once, sometimes multiple times. Others haven't been, but you might have seen them lurking in the comments. And we're working on also continuing to build it a little bit behind the scenes, because there are certain things that I want to be able to cover that people on the right just haven't been. When it comes to on-the-ground journalism, that's been starting to get addressed. The riots have really boosted, helped people recognize the need for that a lot more. So you've got just a whole host of people out there that are at least aggregating video feeds, oftentimes going out and getting the video feeds themselves, often at great personal risk to themselves. A lot of those people are out there. I would like to be able to at least link up with some of those people if possible, or hopefully attract some others who are willing to do the same thing, for our little network here. Also, I've mentioned numerous times, I'd really like to do some science coverage, because it's just cool. I like science stuff. Another one I would like to do is a little drier, not nearly as exciting, but something I think we have been sorely missing, and that's coverage of actual legislation going through Congress. I don't know if you've noticed this, but almost nobody actually talks about the actual legislation that's going through Congress. We talk about bits and pieces and stuff that are part of omnibus bills, but that's about it. Nobody ever really gets into the details of it. And I think that's a problem. Probably should have been addressing this 20 years ago. But so if you've got spare time in your hands and an interest out there, let me know. You can DM at Fighting Void, or you can email at fightthevoid@gmail. You can email fightthevoid@gmail.com. Okay, so if you know of somebody who does, by all means mention them, send them our way. I would love to be able to provide some sort of a platform for somebody to do that. And I think that's about it. I got to get some water in me to rehydrate from the alcohol. I'm going to go hit some cardio at the gym. First time in months. It's going to be awesome. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. I will be back next week, early Monday morning sometime. Maybe around the same time, somewhere around 1 a.m. actually. And maybe I'll pop up a couple of times for a Periscope. We'll see. But until then, guys,